Hi, I'm Emily Johnson, co-host of Money Matters, and this month we're going to be talking about family and money. So please join us on WHHI, where your Money Matters! Hi, I'm Emily Johnson, founder of Polaris Capital Advisors, and this is Money Matters, the show where we inspire your financial confidence. And as always, our topics are inspired by you, our viewers, and by our clients. And this month, we're going to be covering topics surrounding family and money. So first off, I'd like to talk about conversations with family that occur around the Bluffton Farmers Market. This week, I happened to spend a little bit of time at the Bluffton Farmers Market and overheard several conversations and had several conversations that I thought were very interesting and applied to conversations that you might have with your family about money. So first and foremost, conversations about money breed confidence. Lack of communication about money breeds fear. And very interestingly, 69% of parents say they don't talk to their kids about money. Why? Perhaps they're concerned that they don't know enough. Perhaps they're concerned that they've made mistakes and don't want to share them. Who knows? But 69% of parents don't talk to their kids about money, and only 23% of kids, as a result, talk to their parents about money. You can see some of the problems that might arise from that lack of communication. And this is something that's really clear at a farmer's market where you see parents walking around with their children talking about, I want this and I want that, and parents trying to figure out, what should I get them? What should we not buy? Those types of things. So how do you actually start to talk to your kids about money in a way that breeds confidence and not fear? Number one, start slow. Just talk to your kids in terms that are age appropriate. You don't need to talk to your kids about specific financial aspects if they're 6 years old. You can talk to them in value terms. So talk to them about, well, this apple or 6 apples cost as much as a transformer, or whatever it is that the kid might actually have some sort of a relative measure for. Be honest with them. Talk to them clearly about it. Don't show any fear. Just talk to them clearly about this is what a value is, this is how much this costs, and answer the questions that they have. Be very honest with them. And lastly, you might want to set some family goals with them. So if you're at a farmer's market, you might say, okay, today we're going to arrive and we're going to spend $5. Let's figure out how we're going to spend it if they're actually able to count and add. Or it might be, here's a recipe and here are 6 things that we need to buy, and this is something that we're going to do together. That might actually give them an ability to go out and find those items. So it's just small steps like that that help you create that confidence and communication when talking with your children about money. So that was the first sort of learning conversation that I had. The second, like the farmers do with their crops, have a long-term orientation. I was talking with one farmer that was there who was saying that he grows lettuce. And unfortunately, lettuce gets really difficult to grow this time of year because it's really, really hot. So he has to have a long-term orientation about what he's going to do in those summer months and what he's going to grow. So the single greatest skill that an investor can have is long-term perspective. So how do you have that long-term orientation like a farmer when you're not a farmer? First, long-term investing is the process of buying and holding investment securities. It's not day trading necessarily, unless that's perhaps your bailiwick. It's the process of compounding investor wealth indefinitely into the future. It's the Warren Buffett approach of buying value and holding and allowing those funds to compound into the future. And we've talked about compounded growth in the past. And it requires a patient, disciplined mindset. If you're the kind that looks at your statements online every single day, that's okay, as long as you're not driven by fear when you're looking at those statements. Have a disciplined, long-term perspective, just like the farmers do. So some simple steps to achieve this. Number one, assess your risk tolerance. The farmer is probably not going to grow only one type of crop, because that's going to be extremely risky, unless they know that they excel at that particular type of crop. So diversify and assess your risk in advance. Automate your savings. Do something that is completely disciplined. Make sure that you can that you have a way to automate your savings on a regular basis, whether it's through a 401k, IRAs, distributions from your checking account into a savings account, that type of thing. Dollar cost average, again, that's a concept around constant savings, automatic savings that leads to long-term wealth, and then rebalance as needed. probably a bigger conversation, but definitely wanted to put that in there because that's something that, of course, farmers do as they rotate their crops. So you also need to rebalance as needed. Next conversation, be prepared for the slow season. That was another conversation that occurred with the same farmer. He's here in this slow season. What does he do? He has to have some sort of a plan for volatility. He has to have a plan for the seasons. Mother Nature is going to be Mother Nature. The market's going to be the market. You have to have a plan for that. So how do you do that? Number one, you have a rainy day fund. Sounds really boring. It sounds really trite, but that is something that is an absolute must. It's the first place that you should start saving if you don't have one. But make sure, of course, that you also don't have any you don't have any non-productive debt, i.e., credit card debt that's charging you 18% a month. But make sure that you have a rainy day fund that's going to allow you to withstand market volatility. Pardon me, voice. If you're working and you're W-2 employee, you have a steady job, this can be a smaller amount. If you're self-employed, if you're retired, if you don't want to go back to work, this rainy day fund needs to be larger. Number two, have an income plan. So just like this farmer was actually selling something different in the farmer's market to withstand the volatility that Mother Nature provided, you might need to have an income plan, another source of income perhaps. Be willing to go back to work part-time. Have income-based annuities or income-based investments that you can tap into if you actually need that additional income. Perhaps you have rental income in real estate. These are all different options that you should look at when you're looking to supplement your rainy day fund or if you actually need to tap into your rainy day fund. And lastly, talk with family and friends to minimize surprises. Volatility will happen. Make sure that you're not surprised by something that your parents might need, something that your children might need. Those things can come at just the wrong time. So make sure that you've had these conversations with your family, that they also have a rainy day fund and a plan for that type of volatility so that you're not surprised at the last minute. And then lastly, I had a great conversation with a fellow there who said, hey, I see your show. I've been there, done that, but I love watching it. And I said, what do you mean about that? I said, what do you mean you've been there, done that? And he said, you know what? He said, I'm here today because he was just enjoying himself at the farmer's market. He said, I'm here today because I lived within my means. He said, I have a pension, I have X dollars in savings, and he said, I live within my means, and I always have, and as a result, that has enabled me to be here today enjoying this Bluffton farmer's market. He said, I have a long-term perspective. I started saving when I was young. I allowed my money to compound. I had a long-term perspective. I said, did you have a plan? And when did you start that plan? He said, my wife and I have a plan, which is always key too, is making sure that you and your family are on the same page. So he said, I had a plan, and we executed on it. And we had to change it over the years, but yes, I definitely had a plan. And then lastly, he said he asked for qualified advice. So even as they moved around from place to place, he sought out qualified advice, whether it was there or on, perhaps over the phone, but always sought out qualified advice. So the bottom line is, for all these conversations, you actually get to decide what's valuable to you, just like you do when you go to the farmer's market. So please, I hope that you've enjoyed this show today. I look forward to seeing you out on the street and discussing more of these topics with you. Until next week, this has been Money Matters. Have a great week.